you won't find happiness at the end of your next goal. That's exactly the reality of the Lich. He got everything that he'd been chasing for years.
In succeeding, I lost all purpose.
Now he just waits alone, without purpose. Because chasing purpose and goals without joy doesn't make you fulfilled, it makes you empty. And if you've ever chased a goal hoping it would complete you, his story will show you a way out. In a show full of candy people, fart jokes, and talking rainbows, the Lich stands out like a void in the center of it all. He isn't a king, he isn't a tyrant, he's a cosmic embodiment of evil, birthed from a catalyst comet the same way Finn's soul once entered the world. But where Finn embodied growth, choice, and light, the Lich was everything opposite. After the mushroom bombs detonated, his soul latched onto a dying body submerged in mutagenic waste. And what came out wasn't human. It wasn't even angry. It was purpose. Pure, unfeeling, inevitable. The Lich saw himself as the last scholar of Golb, with only one goal: to extinguish all life. And the way he does that is a bit frightening. The first time we really see him in action in Mortal Folly, he doesn't scream or conquer like an evil baddie in most shows. He just moves on like a plague, quiet, cold, inevitable. He takes over a snail, releases his trapped body from an amber prison, and makes the run for it for his well of power. And right there, the first hints start at the way that the Lich operates. Unlike most hostile monsters, the Lich doesn't mindlessly murder anything he sees. He specifically wants to eradicate all life in existence, and seems to understand that simply destroying everything in his path wherever he goes is not the best way to go about doing that. He needs a more calculated plan than indiscriminate murder. More on that later. The biggest problem with that is that it makes him flawed. His arrogance and his single-minded nature lead to his defeat at the hands of opponents towards whom he was originally derisively dismissive. He laughed at Finn's attempts to stop him, but was later overpowered because he overestimated him. And being defeated the first time only makes him come back stronger. After his body is destroyed by Finn, the Lich's disempowered spirit doesn't die, it adapts. He slips into Princess Bubblegum like a parasite, twisting her body into a nightmarish vessel in mortal recoil. And when Finn and Ice King somehow manage to stop him again, he retreats back into the one creature he first used to escape, the snail. That should have been the end. Instead, it's just the reset. Because chasing goals isn't always about going forwards. Sometimes you have to take 2 steps back to move forward again. That's what the Lich does. He waits for the perfect moment, and that moment arrives when he finds the perfect disguise: Billy. A hero, someone Finn and Jake would never question. Wearing Billy's skin, he doesn't fight like the hero does, he manipulates. He spins a story about saving the world, about collecting the princess's gems to stop the Lich. And the boy believes him. Of course he does, because who wouldn't trust a hero like Billy? But in reality, they're actually helping the Lich complete the ritual of the Enchiridion, a way to open a portal to the multiverse. One by one, they gather the crystals. The final piece, Princess Bubblegum's gem. And they steal it, complete the set, and slot it into the Enchiridion. And that's when the book begins to change. Glowing, pulsing, reacting to the power it was never meant to hold. But someone else sees through the lie.
That's not Billy! It's the Lich!
A gumball guardian locks onto Billy, discharges a blast, and exposes the truth. Half of Billy's face is now burned away, revealing the Lich underneath. He lunges for the book. Finn reacts, tries to destroy it. And that's exactly what opens the portal. Just before stepping through, the Lich turns to Finn.
Thanks, Finn. I couldn't have done it without you.
Cold, calculated, inevitable. The Lich makes it through the portal into Prismo's time room and gets exactly what he wanted: access to the center of the multiverse and unlimited power. Without hesitation, he wishes for the extinction of all life, which Prismo immediately grants. However, it doesn't end there. Even with the death of all life itself, Finn and Jake are still there to make things right. After some struggle, Jake makes a counter-wish, one that rewinds everything and sends them back home, with everything back to normal. And just like that, the Lich's once perfect plan collapses. His wish is spent. His access to his goal is completely revoked. He doesn't scream. He doesn't fight. He doesn't throw a tantrum. He just goes into stasis. If extinction of all life isn't possible right now, then motion, life itself, is irrelevant. That's how the Lich operates. He doesn't crave movement. He doesn't want anything in between. He just craves results and anything that'll take to get him there. If progress isn't possible, he just shuts down entirely, like a machine on standby. No rage, no panic, just silence and waiting to try again. That's not surrender, that's discipline. That's obsession. That's absolute purpose and goal chasing driven to its most horrifying extreme. And that's the part that no one tells you about chasing one goal with everything you've got. When you tie your entire existence to a single outcome, what happens when progress stops or becomes hopeless? Most people would panic, burn out, spiral, look for alternatives, go in denial, get angry. The Lich, he just shuts down and stops. Because without chasing his goal or having anything to do, he isn't anything. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not that he failed the only way he was going to fulfill his goal, but that he doesn't know how to exist without the chase. Adventure Time also explores what happens if you do eventually reach that one goal that you've always been chasing, and it's darker than you might think. When Finn and Jake try to commit a cosmic crime to access the highest security prison, the Citadel, an opportunity finally arrives. They bring Prismo's mortal body into the time room, and the Lich pounces. He kills Prismo without hesitation, and for the first time since his failure, the goal is back in sight. By committing his cosmic crime, he's transported to the Citadel, where he sets his plan back in motion.
Fall. There is only darkness for you, and only death for your people.
He speaks in cold certainty. No fear, no anger, just logic. It's chilling, not because it's dramatic and that he's the embodiment of evil, but because it's really precise, given his looks. He doesn't curse at the world, he diagnoses it. His language isn't emotional, it's clinical. Like he's not killing, he's correcting. There's no hint of anger, pleasure, or even pride, only inevitability. But something goes wrong. Billy's body, or what's left of it, is too far gone. And when Finn touches him with Citadel Guardian's healing blood, the Lich doesn't grow back Billy's skin or become stronger. He grows new life. He becomes a baby. Harmless, innocent, new. The Lich's body is reborn as Sweet Pea. I'll get to what this exact transition means later, as there's something more important we need to talk about first, because one day, the Lich actually just wins. In Fiona and Cake, Simon stumbles into a dead world, a universe where the Lich succeeded. There are no people, no animals, no color, no life, just bones, dust, and silence. And sitting in the middle of it all is the Lich. Not with a content smile, just as a hollow figure at the bottom of a pit. Still alive, still sentient, but completely unbothered by Simon, Fiona, or Cake. Because in his universe, there's nothing left to kill. The mission is complete. And to him, this perfect embodiment of purpose is now completely useless. He doesn't celebrate, he doesn't gloat, he just lets them walk away. Because when you are your goal, and your goal is complete, there's no you left. Nothing to celebrate, nothing to keep going, nothing to pursue other goals. He should feel victorious. Instead, he's catatonic, detached. The end of all life, his only goal, didn't bring peace, it didn't bring meaning, it just left him with silence. We see the Lich again in Casper and Nova, deep in Golb's dimension. He isn't planning, he isn't killing, he's praying. The Lich, this being of cosmic evil, this self-proclaimed scholar of Golb, is now on his knees pleading for answers.
But it gave me no satisfaction. In succeeding, I lost all purpose.
He doesn't understand. He thought the goal was the meaning, that extinction would complete him. But now that there's nothing left to destroy, there's nothing left of him either.
Why? Why must this be? Hear me, Gulb!
He spent millennia chasing this end, possibly even since the beginning of time. And Gulb themselves, Chaos incarnate, the thing the Lich devoted his life to, doesn't reward him, doesn't embrace him, doesn't give him a new mission, a new thing to strive for. Gulb Betty appears, and simply erases him. No words, no comfort, no thanks, just reduction to nothingness. The Lich, once the end of all things himself, becomes a floating symbol, a silent, meaningless shape, another empty fragment in a place that doesn't care. That's what happens when you sacrifice identity for purpose. Not only do you fail to find fulfillment, you make yourself feel disposable the moment your task is done. The Lich didn't lose, he won, and found out that winning doesn't matter if you don't have a reason to keep going. That's the core of his tragedy. He embodies the same exact loop that many people are stuck in every day, chasing something so strongly, expecting that one thing to make them feel whole. Once I have it, then I'll be fulfilled, only to get it and feel nothing, or at least not for a long time. It's the hedonistic treadmill. You run, you grind, you reach a milestone, but instead of satisfaction, you just find another target. Now, imagine tying your entire existence to that loop, but it's just one single thing for thousands or millions of years. Not a job, not a relationship, but the total annihilation of all living things. The Lich believed that achieving this purpose would give him peace, because that's who he was. But what it gave him at the end was just silence, and the terrifying realization that there was never anything afterwards. No identity, no joy, no capacity to stop running. He was never built to be satisfied, just to achieve the end result, just to move forward towards that goal, and when there's nowhere left to go, no level left to reach, no meaning or end result left to extract, he just collapses. Not in defeat, but in irrelevance. Because when happiness is always tied to the next milestone, you never actually arrive. The truth is, the longer you delay your joy, tying it to some future moment of success, the more you teach yourself that now is never good enough, that you're never good enough to feel happy in the moment. Even when you do get what you wanted, it won't feel like arrival, and you won't be happy at that time. It'll just feel like the starting line for the next goal, and at that goal you'll be happy. That's the trap. Life doesn't happen at the end when you achieve your goals. It happens when the sun is shining through your windows on a beautiful day. It happens when you're enjoying a glass of chocolate milk with the heater on during a cold winter day, if you're not lactose intolerant. It happens through the people who walk beside you, not because you've won anything, but because you showed up. It happens on the way towards those goals, where you're learning and improving and enjoying the moment itself. So set goals, chase growth, push forward. But don't make the mistake of thinking that happiness is something you earn later once you win, once you get there. It's something you practice and live in now, even while the outcome is still uncertain, even while you're still becoming who you think you'll be in the future. It's in the highest highs and the lowest lows and everywhere in between that normal life happens, and that's when you should find happiness. And that leads me back to Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea is what happens when that same destructive force is given a second chance in a more naive, lovable form. Not erased, not forgotten as an identity, just kind of rerouted. Sweet Pea is the Lich reborn into love, raised in simplicity. And even though fragments of the Lich still stir inside him, dark dreams, violent instincts, he isn't consumed by them. Because Sweet Pea isn't just given purpose, he's allowed to be a person and pursue anything. And when that darkness of the Lich finally rises again in whispers, Sweet Pea doesn't run from it. He faces it, and he chooses something else. He doesn't defeat the Lich with violence. He rejects him with identity, with selfhood, with the words,
Sweet Pea.
I am not a king of ruin.
What?
And that's everything. Sweet Pea shows us that even if you're born from destruction, even if there's darkness inside you, as there is in most of us, you can still make a different choice. You can still pursue your own goals, find happiness from the moments in between, and you can still live. you can still be more. We eventually see Sweet Pea graduate from school and wander as a mountain-sized hero in the future. Where the Lich saw all of existence as a problem to solve, Sweet Pea sees it as a life to live in the moment. And maybe, just maybe, that's the closest thing to peace the Lich ever got. Now, I'm sure you're not the embodiment of all evil like the Lich. Probably. You get to decide what your purpose feels like to live with. So ask yourself honestly, is your goal shaping you into someone you actually want to be? Or is it just dragging you forward and taking away everything else and not letting you live in the moment? Because the end of the road won't give you peace. Only you can do that. If this resonated with you, take a moment to pause, not to stop moving, but to ask why you're moving. Okay, unpause. And if you want more videos that unpack purpose, identity, and meaning through the lens of Adventure Time, you have to watch our video on Simon Petrikov next, where he lost all of his meaning to go on in life, but he also managed to find it again. Click here to watch it.